Hi, everyone. Welcome to BeerThralls Present Beer Protocol. I'm James, and I am drinking a rum Dr. Pepper.
A Rummington?
A rum Dr. Pepper. So it's
A
a
doc-
Dr. Rum.
Ooh, I like Dr. Rum.
Oh, a Dr. Rumper.
It's a good combo.
Dr. Rumber gets a little too close to rompers, which is not a look I want to endorse for this podcast or these people.
I want to
Next
see it.
podcast.
I mean, if you guys buy me the romper, I'll put it on for the podcast.
Dude, if we bought you a romper, you just put it on. Don't even.
I mean,
Jake,
fair.
Jake.
I'd prefer if you give me good makeup too, so I can cover this up a little bit.
Great, Nathan's gonna be all over you now. Jake, what are you drinking?
Concern.
You're drinking Concern. Okay.
Today I am enjoying a lovely pour of Four Roses Kentucky bourbon.
Nice.
Or Kentucky bourbon blend, I should say, for accuracy.
Oh, well, fine. And Matt, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Bold Rock Hard Cider.
Nice. I actually like that one. All right, John.
Me too.
Cheers. Tink.
Cheers, Devin.
We're going to do this fast. Because it's, we're going to talk about Warmachine.
No, we're not. We're trying to talk about Marvel Crisis Protocol.
We are. We're talking about Warmachine.
No, we don't play that game anymore, James. Stop it.
Talking about Air Force Captain James Rhodes piloting the Warmachine armor.
Also known as the man who hits the ground hard when falling.
Oh.
What,
so, Warmachine, as promised last week, comes in a box along with fellow air combatant Sam Wilson, Captain America. So let's take a look at his partner in the air, his eyes on the sky, my armor shows me using energy weapons, I guess, but let's go ahead and assume I'm using bullets.
I didn't notice that until you said it, and then as soon as you said it, I was just like, he doesn't have an energy weapon on his entire freaking card.
They're not energy weapons. They're just bullets shot at extra high hot speeds because blue means hotter.
Yeah.
It do.
Yeah, that's going to hurt his hands.
We're looking at James Rhodes' Warmachine stats across the board. He has 5 stamina, a medium movement, size 2, threat 3. He has 4 physical defense and 3 in his other defenses. So he's, just off the bat, average health for a 3 threat model, but good to above average defenses.
Yep.
So he could take a few hits, especially as we get to some of his other powers in a bit. He's sturdy. Right off the bat, we see probably I think a lot of people are excited about Metal Storm, a beam 3, 5 dice attack for 0 cost.
That's so nice.
It's extremely nice.
He shoots bullets. How is it a beam?
He shoots lots of bullets.
Have you ever seen a machine gun just shooting down range?
After each attack is resolved, this character gains power equal to the damage dealt. Can we talk for a second about how good it is to have a builder that's a beam?
Oh, okay. It's only 3. It's only 3. That is the counter to this.
Still pretty good. I mean,
he can shoot bullets
not bad.
Only this far.
Also, if you get wilds,
the spread gets too big.
Yeah. If you get wilds, then you get to add bleed. So honestly, this is one of the better builders we've seen in a while. It's a good, solid attack.
Yeah, it's a nice, solid attack. It's still
physical. Rocket pods, still physical, all the way down the board for Warmachine. No fancy energy Stark tech, no cutting words or quips. Warmachine brought guns, and you are in gun distance.
Amerified that thing.
The rocket pods, range 4, 4 dice on attack, 0 cost. Barrage. After this attack is resolved, this character may make an additional rocket pods attack. This attack must target another character within range 2 of the original target character. This additional attack does not have the barrage special rule.
You know what's awesome about this attack, Jake?
What's that?
Does barrage have a symbol next to it?
No, it's automatic.
It just happens.
Want to know something else that's fun about this attack, James?
It costs 0.
It costs 0. Want to know something else fun about this attack, Matt?
The second person can be set distance 6 away.
Yes, he nailed it. That was exactly what I was trying to get to.
God, our noob is learning.
I did it.
You did it. That honestly, this is a cool attack. 4 dice. I mean, this is essentially a free attack profile. Like, even if it was just Metal Storm and the Spender, we'd have solid attacks on
Mhm.
Mr. Rhodes. This is a cool option for when you have opponent has several squishy creatures. I do think things like stealth would still prevent rocket pods.
Why?
Stealth, if I remember correctly, reads that you cannot target this
cannot
model
target
unless
it
you're within
outs-
range
yeah.
3.
Yeah.
This is still targeting, even if it has some. It gets around some of the range rules.
Well, does it? Because technically the attack's coming off something that's within range 2.
No, if it was like a
But the
burst,
person targeting it is still
yeah,
outside.
if it was like a burst, and you're not targeting a person, um, it gets kind of wonky. But like even like the beam attack, I don't think you can actually target a person in stealth with the beam attack. But it's within range 3 anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It's also worth noting if your opponent has a bodyguard play with like Okoye, for example, rocket pods can be a nice way to potentially burst Okoye down in one action, as opposed to letting him sort of bleed you off a couple actions with her. Since
So it not
Well,
technically
yeah,
true because the
because
original target. So when you do a bodyguard, the target changes.
Mhm.
So rocket pods could then go back to the original target, and that original target can then bodyguard again.
I was going to shoot
which
Okoye
then,
with the original target.
Oh,
yeah,
well, yeah,
and
no,
then
absolutely.
that just
Because if
moves
you
that
take Okoye out, cool. If you don't,
Yeah.
Okoye's now on like 2 health left. Do you want to bodyguard that?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good way of taking out the bodyguard first.
We've got one more attack.
Yeah, empty the clip is the one we kind of like argued about.
Empty the clip. Physical. All physical for Mr. Rhodes. Range 3, 8 dice on attack. This is a hard-hitting attack. Also, 4 cost. Given how much energy he could potentially generate off of Metal Storm, he can empty the clip pretty often, I'm going to guess. Like every other round, maybe, without having to flip.
Depending on how many people you get in that beam, you could probably do it in the first after like your second attack.
You might be able to do it every round.
Yeah.
But
when rolling additional dice for crits during this attack, roll 2 extra dice instead of 1 for each crit in the attack roll. Already high base damage, big explosions.
Mhm.
This is a money, big damage kind of attack, especially if you have anyone else in your team that can get you more dice, like Lockjaw. But after this attack is resolved, this character suffers 1 damage for each crit in the attack roll.
All right, this is why you guys were like, I don't like this attack. You hurt yourself. Yeah, you do. But on 8
I'd rather
dice,
stay alive for Metal Storm and Rocket Pods.
So okay, yes, if you have, it is a 5 dice throw on Metal Storm, and if you have multiple people that you can hit with that beam, yeah, absolutely do Metal Storm twice because you're gonna get more energy for it. You can use it to spend on cards and that kind of stuff. If you only have one target and you have the 4 energy, I would go ahead and just throw the 8 and just keep a med pack in your back pocket. I mean, on average, you're gonna get like 2 wilds, possibly. I don't see this being overly devastating. Now, yes, if you spike the dice and you get tons of crits, you're gonna take down Hulk, and you're gonna take down yourself too. That's the thing.
It's also really important here is after this attack is resolved, you will suffer damage for each crit in the attack roll, not each crit that exploded.
Right.
If you add 4 dice and you roll 3 more crits, you don't get any benefit other than a normal hit, but you will take the damage.
Yes.
So this could potentially spike real hard against you too if you're real crit lucky.
Now, I would do this if
honestly,
this was going to be a game changer. Like if this was like, oh no, I'm about to lose, and that guy's sitting on a point. Absolutely empty the clip into him.
Well,
now, empty the clip is a risky attack, but it hits really hard with potential to hit harder. It's no frills. There's no special requirements. It's just a relatively inexpensive, hard-hitting attack.
Or like Deadpool does very similar things and hurts himself, but then I get to heal all the way back up on my turn again for the same amount of points.
That is true.
All right, let's look at Mr. Rhodes' superpowers. Titanium armor plating. Passive. When this character would suffer damage from an enemy effect, reduce the amount suffered by 1 to a minimum of 1.
I really wish this was a spender. I do like the fact that it's free. I like the fact that it's free, but I would love it to be like a 2 energy drop in there that just says
2 power.
when this 2 power. When this character would suffer damage, blah, that's it. When you just suffer damage, he would reduce the amount suffered by 1, because that could be a defense against empty the clip. But all we really do get is, okay, I got hit by an enemy, I'm reducing it by 1. It's the same thing we've seen everywhere else.
With Iron Man especially as well.
Yeah. And then he's got flight.
And he has flight. So, okay, we're done. That's Rhodes. Here's my big problem.
His injured side?
His other side appears to be identical.
It's identical.
So, we have been down on Iron Man on this podcast because he doesn't really interact with the table around him.
We have?
Didn't we have an entire episode about why he was the worst model in the game and we hated him?
And this is why he's the better Iron Man.
I would argue Warmachine excites me less. His attacks are better. Honestly, like, I'm now realizing it's not so much an issue with Iron Man or Warmachine. It's for whatever reason, Atomic Mass Games doesn't know what to do with Iron Man models. Like, flat out, I think at this point, Iron Man, a 3-threat model with the original wave, kind of a little more understandable that he doesn't interact with the board or the terrain. But Warmachine comes much later in the game's life cycle. And all Warmachine does is attack. Look what we did last week with another 3-threat model of Sam Wilson. And all of the stuff Sam Wilson brings to the table. Interesting movement options. A charge, a bouncing the shield around. It's almost... Yeah. I don't understand why a 3-threat model has no active superpowers. None.
So it's okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
I agree with you. I don't believe
Bullseye does more to interact with the table than Warmachine does.
So does Wasp and Winter Soldier and Taskmaster and Storm and
I'm not saying he's good. I'm okay.
The damage reduction is nice. It's nice, but it's like, honestly, like, if he hit a little less hard, Warmachine is a 2-threat model.
Or I pay 1 more point and I bring Sabretooth and I do, in comparison, 6 points worth of shit.
No, I agree with you. Like, Deadpool does better. I mean, the regeneration on it does better.
Deadpool does more.
I think this is going to be a okay, when you have these huge characters coming out that have just tons of health and they don't flip.
There's literally 2.
Right now,
She-Hulk and Hulk.
Right now. There's only 2 right now. Possibly a Sentinel in the future. We have like an ultimate encounters and stuff. I can see him being brought in like ultimate encounters. Like we did the Magneto one, dropping that much damage into Magneto for 4 energy is just amazing. Would I bring him onto the table? I think you're right. Deadpool, Taskmaster, Sabretooth, even Wolverine, they're all better characters.
I mean, honestly, I even feel like Toad at a certain level is a better choice over this.
Yeah, but Toad's got a different role.
Yeah.
Now maybe Spider-Man.
Understood.
Warmachine, I feel like Warmachine hits with enough power that he could be a 4-threat character. Like, he hits as hard as a 4-threat character. So the trade-off is that he does nothing outside of that.
Yes, I think that you are absolutely correct there.
So I think
does 0 outside of attacking.
And I think if list building, if that's the role you need, fine. Take Warmachine. I don't think Warmachine is necessarily a bad model. I'm just disappointed that in a game that uses so many other models and their superpowers to reflect cool, iconic bits of history, or things from the lore, or things that represent that character's skills or training. We have James Rhodes, a dedicated Air Force captain, and the Iron Man armors in general apparently don't do anything other than
They shoot.
damage reduction.
And shoot shit.
And the thing is that that's kind of what Warmachine does in the comics. Warmachine doesn't
True.
have a role. Like, he doesn't go in there and like, I'm here to help people and lift up this building. No, he's there to shoot shit. And I think that's what his role is. And that's the problem, though, we had with Iron Man. Iron Man does a lot of good things, but the problem is that there's a lot of other good 3-point models. Why would I bring Warmachine when I can bring a whole bunch of other 3-point models that do okay damage, but then like a lot of stuff on the board?
So, like, the counterpoint is if what you want is a long range or ranged character turret, Hawkeye still exists.
Yep.
And Hawkeye is range 5 damage, and a possibility of doing status ailments, and he gets to choose his energy, either energy or physical for his attack type.
And as much
so
as
he can
I want to say
sidestep.
no, Hawkeye's a better choice.
Now Hawkeye does not do as much damage, and the critical component here is Hawkeye does not have AoEs like Warmachine does. Because it's worth noting, Warmachine hits hard, but he hits hard with AoEs. He has a beam as his basic attack, and he has a guaranteed 2-target range 4, potentially range 6 as his other basic attack.
I could see Warmachine being a good addition to your list if you're going against Black Order, if you're going against Criminal Syndicate.
I don't know about Black Order.
Black Order, because they like kind of staying around each other. Same thing with Criminal Syndicate. They like sitting together.
Black Order also has good physical defense.
Yeah,
so you lose Warmachine's main advantage, which is being able to hit hard.
Trying to find a good place for him.
Well, what I was going to say is with weirdly enough, with Sam Wilson encouraging wide lists with lots of lower cost size 2 models, Warmachine is actually a decent counter to that because he hits a bunch of lower threat, lower defense models, especially hard.
Yeah.
He is bringing threat 4 worth of attacks to multiple characters at threat 3. So he's hitting above his weight. He's hitting multiple things. And so if your opponent is playing Wakanda or Avengers wide, or Guardians, I think Warmachine is a pretty good counter. Because if they size up with like their one high threat model, like a Thor, or I'm thinking of someone else off the top of my head, but I'm blanking a little bit, or like a Ronin for like Guardians, basically a heavy hitter, you can empty the clip at that model and then go back to pinging all of their lower defense models.
I mean, it is.
So I still think Warmachine is a good model. Like he doesn't turn me off the way Bullseye did of just kind of like I don't see a great place for this. I think it's a good place for Warmachine. I'm just really disappointed that they can't seem to give them any flavor for the armor characters.
I actually think you're kind of right, especially with like the rocket pods. If I'm ignoring empty the clip, as just an emergency protocol, hit the big red button, fire everything. Metal Storm and rocket pods are actually still really good 4 dice throwing, 5 dice throwing attacks. If you're playing against something wide. If you're playing, so once again, there's 2 thoughts. Wide is basically you're playing lots and lots of small characters, and you're not really heavily invested in any of them. Warmachine's a good addition to try to fight that. I think I agree with you there. Would I bring him in a list just to counter that? Once again, I don't know. I don't think I've ever bring him in a 10-point list to do that.
Like, even if it was something small, like mobility stuff, like if Green Goblin with his glider has hit and run, letting him shoot then move, then could the Iron Man suits also have some kind of move and action ability? Or would that make them too good? Maybe, but they're also 3 threat models in a game where 3 threat is very competitive.
Yeah. I don't. The only thing I can think of is I am trying to. I'm building my list, and I need a gun. I need a heavy hitter. I got control for my points. I've got mobility. I've got the grab the objectives and run away. I've got my tricksy characters. Bring Warmachine. But at the same time, why not bring Hawkeye? Hawkeye is like, oh, line of sight? I ignore that.
Now, I think there's a couple things you could do as well. Like you mentioned earlier, Warmachine only has one thing on his card that costs power,
Yep.
and that's to empty the clip. So, especially as he actually can potentially generate a lot of power with Metal Storm, tactic cards. Do you need someone to play tactic cards? Do you need someone to be an energy battery for any various use? Warmachine could do that kind of effectively if he gets in the thick of it. And with his armor plating, reducing damage by 1, with his 4 physical defense, Warmachine can actually take hits. So while he may not be able to go toe-to-toe with like a Wolverine or a Sabretooth, he can actually take 1 or 2 hits from them and be reasonably expected to hold the point.
Does he not have an affiliation?
I think he's an Avenger.
He's an Avenger.
Okay.
I think, I just thought of this. Because I ran into a problem playing Cabal with my Cabal list that we designed. The 14 points. I was just like, And I brought a bunch of little tiny things. I think Warmachine would be a really good addition at really low point costs.
Because he hits hard.
He hits really hard at 14 points. He could literally walk in there and just be like, 14 points and playing Blackwater? Well, that thing's going to die. And it's going to die a lot.
Like, if you think about it, it makes sense. The Air Force officer in powered armor with no superpowers other than having armor with guns drops in to fight other people who similarly don't have superpowers.
Yeah.
Turns out guns when you're fighting the likes of Hawkeye, Black Widow, even a Captain America-like figure. Guns are still good.
Yeah. All right.
He brought, statistically, on average, he has like 3 times the guns of a Winter Soldier.
It's a short episode, but that's Warmachine.
Oh, we've got a couple more things I thought of, but one more thing to look at with Warmachine is he does have a tactic card.
And it is.
The Air Force, Reactive, Warmachine, or
Just
Captain Marvel.
All of it?
Yeah. I mean, fair.
Well, Warmachine or Captain Marvel may spend 3 power to play this card at the end of their activation. The active character's controller activates Warmachine or Captain Marvel, whichever one did not play this card before their turn ends. It's a cosmic invigoration for 3, specifically for Warmachine or Captain Marvel.
I'm not going to play Captain Marvel.
I mean, it is kind of funny that Captain Marvel's a deal breaker on this one. Does this make Captain Marvel relevant again? I've never been that down on Captain Marvel because she's kind of a similar hit really hard play style, but she's a 4-threat model, so she's relatively expensive to hit really hard. But she does have a throw. She has some positioning. She has her binary form, and she has a ton of power, which lets her hit much harder and tank really well.
Does the card say they activate again immediately?
Before that turn ends. So you get a double activation of Warmachine and Captain Marvel.
Better than Cosmic Configuration. Because that just says you remove the activation token. And
so
that could just but would that is that card good enough that I would bring Captain Marvel?
I don't think you'd have too much of a problem playing it with Warmachine, because again, Warmachine generates power, it looks like, fairly effectively. So he can afford 3.
I mean, if she's
without too much of a sweat.
If she's in binary and Warmachine has all this extra energy and he spends that and she immediately activates, that's not horrible, but at the same time, that's my one gimmick.
I mean, it's kind of like with the Black Order pairing of
Corvus Blade and Proxima Midnight.
Blade. Thank you. And Proxima Midnight. Is that double activation gimmick strong enough to bring both of those models on its own?
Double activation is still a good gimmick because if you are not the last activating character, like you can take priority. Mm-hmm. This is better than Cosmic Configuration because Cosmic Configuration just basically removes the activation token, which means you still have another character to activate at the during your turn, which means there's a
Oh.
possibility you're going to activate last, and you're going to give the priority token to the other person.
Now that we're talking about it a little bit, it is different enough from Cosmic Invigoration, because Cosmic Invigoration can let one model activate twice. This
Yeah.
will not.
Yeah.
I
still
think
don't-
it's a good tactic card if you want to run Captain Marvel. They're both Avengers. I still think Captain Marvel is kind of like Ultron from the original box. Like, these models aren't bad. I don't feel like they've ever hit a niche or a particular list playstyle they would work
Yeah.
really well with.
They need like an Ultimate Edition or something like that to kind of bring them up to speed with the new stuff.
Yeah. And there's always the possibility there'll be a future Captain Marvel or something else like that. But it's a fun, flavorful card.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd play Warmachine, but I still think that it might be
I
a
don't
good
think
addition.
any of us play Warmachine anymore.
If you're thinking about playing Sam's Captain America, Warmachine, and going very small numbers and going very wide, I think he might be a good addition to that. I don't think and then bring cards that are just nothing but 14s and a bunch of low points.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that though, I don't see him being thrown to your list.
I don't know. Do I like him more than original Iron Man?
Yes.
I'm a little up in the air. Original Iron Man does have a 2-cost, range 5, attack 5. 2 is not super expensive. But for his spender, 5 is not necessarily great either. Iron Man could potentially Repulsor Blast and push, which gives him some board presence.
Yeah. Now, if he had a push,
Otherwise,
I think if he had a push, he'd be better. He'd be really good. But
yeah, I think just Warmachine having a beam right away instead of having to wait till being
just a destroy terrain card or something.
Or not even like destroy terrain, but just some kind of like tactical analysis ability that, like, Iron Man has the Friday AI. It's just it's really expensive for what it does, so it doesn't feel practical.
Yeah.
I don't know, just something that points out that these dudes are walking around with millions of dollars of cutting edge future tech.
Meanwhile, Hawkeye's like, I got an arrow.
And that one arrow is one of the best single attacks in the game.
God. All right. Well, there you go, everyone. Warmachine. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It's a short episode because there's not much to talk about. I hope you found this helpful. And look forward to August. We'll be doing Extra Life. We'll have our exact information and everything on the Facebook page, facebook.com/BeerThralls. And hope to see you then. All right, game off.
Yeah. Game off. Bye.